All right. Hello. Welcome. So this is going to be the second installment in a sort of type of prologue, type of backstory series that I was wanting to do with everyone in the party, all my player members. Hopefully this goes more smoother than the last one I did with Anthony. I had a ton of audio issues, so we're gonna have to make it very improvised. So, um, hopefully this won't be as bad. How do I like? There we go. Okay, sweet. So, with that being said, today in this little installment, we have Colgrag and Theobold, and we're gonna
Howdy.
be going.
Giorno.
We're gonna explore a little bit of their past.
Dominic de Coco.
Cool.
Gorlami.
Let me just go ahead and get some music going on in here. Set the mood. Let's see here. How do you spell Erie? E-E-R-I-E?
I think so.
Okay, sweet. It is, okay. Maybe that'll do something I want. Let's see how that sounds. Very quiet. I'm going to turn that up a lot.
Also, is this because of the weather? We're short on episode. Is this why we're doing this?
Yeah, I didn't have the one shot recorded, and I need to make sure I have at least some content, some backup content for the next couple weeks. So
All right.
this is also kind of what this is doing for me.
Just so in case we have to miss another
Yeah.
session.
Just in case that happens, we'll at least have something for a replacement. Cool. All right. I will go ahead and get us started and get the scene set. So, what we're about to experience takes place several years before the main campaign, before the last stream, before the formation of the party hired by the kingdom to put a stop to the rebellion going on in Pathstow. This is before any of that. This is before the rebellion within Wolfpine, the kingdom to the east of Pathstow, would be shut down, would be put to an end. This takes place on the night that haunts Colgrag and Theobold both, even to the very day of the campaign. It takes place on the night of slaughter. The scene opens, and as it actually takes place in let me pull up my notes here. Oh, I have my character sheets open, not my campaign.
What a dummy.
God damn it. There's always something. And just so you are aware, as I never really picked a solid location, the slaughter does actually take place in Wolfpine. The people were taken from Breeden and brought to Wolfpine, just so you're aware.
Got it.
So,
good.
the scene takes place in the actual town in Wolfpine, in the actual kingdom of Wolfpine. There are tents set up everywhere for the soldiers to sleep in, military tents pitched up, fires, campfires everywhere, cooking meat and other type of food, stews, soups. There are torches lighting in the dirt and the mud, scattered everywhere, lit, blazing brightly to illuminate the dark night. Storm clouds are beginning to roll in from the distance, beginning to cover the sky, hiding the moon, hiding the stars. It's dark and it's quiet. Within one of the tents lies a large orc, the future king of Wolfpine. He looks down at two of the Goliaths standing before him. The Goliaths being the familiar Gabriel and Bear-Arms. As he looks down at the two of them, he leans back in his throne and just slowly leans his jaw onto his hand and just begins to scratch it, thinking. He then leans forward and goes, "The prisoners are here. We are shutting this rebellion down, and I have no regret for what we will do to them. We have given them many outings. We have given them many, many times to surrender. This folly, this mistake that should have never happened. But they didn't take it now. So, you two, Gabriel, Bear-Arms, you are my most trusted soldiers. I'm recording
Aye.
on YouTube. So, I have a mission for you. You're going to step out this tent. You're going to go to the prisoners that we have out there. You're going to line them all up, put them on their knees, and you will execute all of them. The women,
Whoa.
the men, the children. No survivors.
My liege,
What?
we can't just slaughter defenseless and unarmed civilians like that.
And why not, Bear-Arms? Are
'Cause they may...
Are you trying to say that you won't follow the order of your king?
No. I've trusted you from the beginning, and I will trust you to the end.
Good.
But these people are captured. They can't fight back right now.
That doesn't matter. I have given them an outing many times. They have slain my soldiers. They have taken our food, our water, our weapons, our clothing. They think not of my people. I think not of their people. To me, they are no longer people. They are dogs. And people get arrested. Animals, they don't. We slaughter them. We put them down. All they're doing is taking up our resources to supply our soldiers. They're captured. We feed them, we water them, we clothe them. And yet, how do they repay us, Bear-Arms? They keep the war going. And I will not have it. And you, Gabriel, do you have any thoughts about this? At that, Gabriel will just nod his head. He'll shake his head and look over at Bear-Arms and say, No. I trust everything you tell me, my liege.
My shoulders kind of drop a little bit. And I let out a sigh and say, we shall do it, sir.
He nods, the king nods his head and goes, Good, that's what I like to hear from my loyal soldiers. You two are gonna go far here. Just keep up that attitude, and I'll make sure you have everything you could ever want. Now, round up the captors. And he waves you out, waves both of you out of the tent to send you out on your way. And as you both begin to exit the tent, going to do as you're instructed, we're going to skip over to our other character, to Theobold. Theobold, you are currently infiltrating Wolfpine. You heard of some deep plan, some great plan that the king had in mind for the night. Something that you had heard from your spies in the village in the kingdom that he believed would be one of the major steps to shutting down the Mace of Blackenrock, to shutting down the rebellion as a whole, to take full control over Breeden and over the rest of just the entire eastern side of the continent. So you were sent in along with one of your more rash teammates, Jaro, to investigate and see what you could figure out. See if maybe you could figure out what he was doing and report back. So currently, you and Jaro are dressed in almost like a raincoat type of cloak, really just to cover your bodies, cover your faces, try and stay hidden a bit more. And you're sitting in a tent that's kind of working as a makeshift tavern. They have barrels of ale and different types of rum to supply to the soldiers and villagers. And at this point, as you and Jaro are conversing with each other, you hear heavy footfall that you recognize as not human, not even orc, but as Goliath. And you know the only two Goliaths, at least the two prominent ones, are none other than Gabriel and Bear-Arms, and you can hear them walking past your tent, and they sound like they're in a hurry. What do you do?
Wonder where they're heading off to. Yarrow, you think we should follow them?
He looks around. He finishes drinking his glass of ale that he had and sets the empty glass down. He wipes the residue off his mouth and goes, "Yeah, we should go check it out. Knowing those two, they're up to no good, and I'm not about to let another failure happen when we're here, when we can put a stop to it. Come on, let's go." And so he stands up. I'm assuming you both stand up and begin to make your way out and follow the two?
Yeah.
Okay. So you both leave the tent, beginning to tail the two Goliaths. It's very, very easy to follow them, as while there are a lot of larger races, a lot of larger soldiers here, like very large humans, averaging around 6 feet tall, 6.5 feet tall, a bunch of orcs, very, very strong orcs conversing with each other. Bear-Arms and Gabriel stand out, so you're able to follow them pretty easily. After several minutes of following them, you see they enter a very large tent with two guards out front, two armed orc guards. You can't hear them say too much. You're able to make out a couple of words as Gabriel speaks to one of the guards. Really, the only words you're able to make out are prisoners, and then one other word that sends a shiver down your spine: execution. They walk off, and the guards just nod and walk in. You hear yelling as they begin to gather up all the prisoners and then begin to slowly bring them outside one at a time. And you see just actually how many prisoners there are. You see about 40 to 50, almost 60 prisoners in total. All not just men, but women and children. There's everything. They had no seemingly regulations when it came to their prisoners. Everyone was a prisoner in their eyes. They begin to line them up one at a time, putting them in a giant straight line. And as this happens, Jarro places a hand on your shoulder, gripping it tightly, and goes, "What are they doing? You heard what I heard, right?"
Yes, I did.
We gotta do something. We gotta do something now. And you see him actually begin to reach down towards his sword.
Wait. That's not our mission.
Where's our mission? What do you mean that's not our mission? There are people about to be slaughtered, Theobold.
I know. But you have to think, if we jeopardize our mission now, how many more will die back in Breeden?
Shut. Please. I pray to the fucking gods that nothing bad happens. Fine, I'll stand my ground for now, but if anything goes wrong, if anything happens that was preventable, I will never forgive you. And with that, he turns to look at the rest of the prisoners being dragged out. As the prisoners are finally completely out, you actually see about 65 prisoners in total. About 15 to 16 of them are men. But not even all of them look like soldiers. In fact, only several of them look like soldiers. Others look like just normal civilians. You see about 20 women, or about 23 women, sorry. And same thing for them. You see maybe 1 or 2, 3 soldiers among them. The rest are nothing but civilians. That leaves the rest of the prisoners as children. Every single one of them are just children.
Fuck.
In fact,
they got kids.
As you look at them, you notice something. One of the children and one of the women standing next to each other, they're not just random civilians. You recognize them. They are the family, the wife and the child of your childhood friend Agus. His wife Diane and his child Lucas are standing there among the prisoners to be executed, holding each other's hands, the child crying into the mother's leg, and the mother trying to comfort the child.
Yarrow.
What?
Yarrow, I changed my mind. They have Agus's kids.
Fucking... Oh, shit. If they get killed, who knows what the hell he'll do. If he finds out that they're dead... Oh... I can't.
What do we do?
Shit. Look around, we can't just... We can't just rush in, there's too many soldiers here. If we even try to rush in, we'll get captured immediately. We'll be left for no better than they are. Fuck. And he goes to try, he puts his head in his hands, trying to just think. But as you both begin to panic, trying to think of something to do, Gabriel and Bear-Arms turn and face the crowd gathering around. Gabriel looks around and says, "All right, everyone, listen up. We have something important to do here today. In fact, it's so important, I will let my second in charge, my first in charge here, my right-hand man, Bear-Arms, go ahead and tell them what we're doing here today."
No, we're addressing the group of prisoners,
crowd.
right?
Yeah, you're addressing the crowd that's gathering around.
Well, they could all see almost regret and reluctance in my face. We're going to teach this rebellion a lesson. A lesson they should have given up many years ago.
As you say that, one of the guards begins to walk towards the line of prisoners, holding a block and a bucket. He places the block onto the floor and the bucket in front of it, and then another guard comes up with a giant great axe and hands it to you, Bear-Arms. And with that, he turns and walks away. And then Gabriel walks to one of the men, the first in line, and grabs him by the neck, beginning to drag him along the floor before throwing him onto the table, or onto the block, his head slamming onto it with a loud crack. He seems disoriented, but then Gabriel puts his foot on his back, holding him in place, as his head dangles above the bucket. And then he turns to look at you, Bear-Arms, with the axe in your hands, and nods his head. What do you do?
Oh, I look down at the man he's pinned to the block right now, right?
Yes, he is. And as you look down at him, you see he's looking up at you, and it looks like he's actually been beaten. It looks like while he was in the tent with all the other prisoners, it looks like he was interrogated, beaten, and bruised, and tortured for information. There's bruises and scars all over his face. There's tears coming out of his eyes, and he shakes his head and goes, "You don't have to do this. I can tell you're different from him, from these others. Just put down the axe, please."
Before he's done saying what he's saying, I rear back the axe and lop his head off.
As you do, it cuts off easily, the axe sliding through his skin as his head topples into the bucket. Gabriel kicks the body over and then looks at the rest of the crowd and goes, Now see, that's what could have been avoided. All of this could have been avoided. But these rebellions, all these rebels and criminals, they just didn't stop. This blood is on their hands, not ours.
While he's talking, I'm going to motion over another guard.
One of the guards comes over and says, "Yes, what can I do?"
I can't do this. Yeah. Give this axe to Gabriel. I'm going to go find someone to clear my head.
As you say that, Gabriel places a hand on your shoulder tightly and says, "You go anywhere and you're no better than these damn rebels. You're going to stay here and you're going to execute them. You may not do them all, but you're going to do more than just one. This blood is on both of our hands, Bear-Arms." And with that, he shoves the axe back into your chest, into your arms. And then Theobold, you watch as Gabriel turns and begins to look among the crowd, eyeing them all down, and goes, why don't we spice things up a bit? Let's skip the line. And then he walks towards the women. He locks eyes with Diane and grabs her by her hair and begins to drag her along the floor. As Lucas tries to go up and cry for her and try to grab her, he just picks up the child by his shirt and just tosses him back into line. And then he goes and throws her onto the block as well. He places his foot on the back of her back and then looks at you and says, "Next." What do you do, Theobold?
At this, I jump up and I start trying to get down there.
Okay. As you do, one of the guards sees this, multiple of the guards see this actually, and begin to move forward, getting in your way, crossing spears in an X formation, as they say, if you interrupt the beheading, you are no better than these criminals and you will be lined up for execution just like the rest of them. As you say that, Jaro, you see him beginning to pull out his dagger with his left hand, and his right hand's reaching down towards his sword. And you can see the restraint on his face, you can see the tension. It's taking every fiber, every bit of pressure in his body, every bit of energy he can to not begin to attack. Because he knows, even if he tried his best, even with two of the best soldiers in the Mesa Black and Rock, Theobold and Jaro, there's just almost no chance he would make it out alive.
I take a quick look at Diane and Lucas, and I step down.
Kolgrag. Diane is still on the block, her head still over the bucket, the great axe in your hands. Gabriel looking at you in your eyes, waiting. What do you do?
Down at the prisoner, the block. Look up at Gabriel. I swing down the axe, but I miss and plant it right just ahead, like above her head, like where it's almost
like right in front of the bucket.
Yeah, right in front of the bucket. And go, I can't kill a woman, especially one that's with child.
Fine. Well, with that said, it's your lucky day, miss. And he leans down and grabs Diane and just looks at her and goes, "Oh, that's what I would say, if he would have just chopped your head off and made it nice and quick for you. Instead, you have me to deal with now." And he yanks her head up, holding her off the floor by her hair, and looks at you, Bear-Arms, and said, "This could have been over quickly. She could have not suffered. But you just had to be a coward, didn't you? Gods." And then he throws her down to the floor and says, "Gods, take her to the tent. Do with her as you please." And the guards begin to grab her, two of the guards grabbing her by her arms and begin to drag her through the mud, beginning to carry her to the tent off into the, as she kicks and screams. Lucas beginning to try and chase after her, but Gabriel reaches down, grabbing him by the back of his shirt, lifting him up, and looks at you, Baron, and said, "This is your last chance. You deny this, and you will be a traitor."
We didn't join this army to kill women and children.
We didn't join this army to have to do this, I know. We joined this army to protect the king and do as he wished, to do the better of the kingdom. You know what's good for the kingdom? Shutting down this damn rebellion. And do you see this ending anytime soon, Bear-Arms? No, I don't. So, we're gonna end it tonight. Do you fucking hear me? Kill the kid, or be known as a traitor, and I'll do it, and I will make sure he suffers. And then he puts Lucas down on the block, puts his foot on his back, and then looks at you one last time and says, "So what are you gonna be? A traitor? A coward? Or are you going to end the damn rebellion?"
I roll back my shoulders, pick up the axe with one hand, get a good grip, make peace to my God, and then I was one clean swing. Execute Lucas.
The moment that happens, Jaro screams and then pulls out his dagger, stabbing one of the guards in the gut, and swings out his sword, slicing the other one's throat open, and begins to run forward, but then stops himself, seeing the guards beginning to surround him. Within an instant, where you only saw 4 or 5, 6 guards, you immediately see 10 more begin to pour out of the tents, hearing the screaming, hearing the fighting happen. What do you do, Theobold?
At this point, I'm taking out my weapons too.
Can I see this disturbance going on?
You can. You see Jaro quickly stab one of the guards and almost cut the head clean off one of the other guards. And beside him, you can't make out his face, but you see another cloaked figure among him.
And
also
can Gabriel see this?
Gabriel definitely sees it. By this point, Gabriel is actually growing a smile on his face and beginning to just laugh as he sees the other guards pulling out.
Wait, real quick, how far away were we from
You are approximately, at this point, you'd be about 15 feet away.
Okay. Right, well,
between you, because between the crowd, like if I had to explain with my hands, the line is right here, and then there's about this much open space, about 10 feet of open space, and then that's where the crowd is, and then you're within 5 feet of those guards who blocked you off.
Okay. So. How blocked off am I? Okay, at this point, I'm going to be looking for Diane.
There were 2 guards with their spears in front of you, and then there were one more to the left, and then another one to the right. There were 4 guards in total. At this point, one of them's down, bleeding to death. The other one is also bleeding to death with his throat slit open. One of them is preoccupied by Jaro at the moment, and then the other guard is currently trying to tend to the other one's wounds. So you do very well have a chance that you could make it to the tent where you saw Diane get pulled away. But in between you and that tent is Gabriel.
Fuck.
And I didn't plan for a combat situation, but we very well can do a combat situation here if it comes to it.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, you didn't plan for combat. I'm thinking, do you know what, like...
I think this, like, most of this night would have been combat.
Yeah.
Well, it's because most of the combat will take place after the entire slaughter. Right now, everyone is kind of stunned by the fact that they just saw a child get executed. So
yeah, I'm trying to think of a way to where it's not too combat heavy, but like you're throwing some very headstrong characters into a.
Tell you what. Tell me what you want to do, and I can tell you what I can work with.
Let's see. At this point, Theobald would want to just as quickly as possible, just like I said, just run around, like avoid people, and just like dart straight to Diane. Okay. You know, like you wouldn't stop for getting guards. It'd be like kind of like a push out of the way, hope they don't catch up with them.
Okay. In that case, let's say Theobald begins to run forward, trying to make a mad dash for the tent. In between him and that tent is Gabriel, and Gabriel is going to try and not let that happen. So he's going to try and grapple him. He's going to try and grab him with both of his arms and hold him in place. So just go ahead and, for me, roll a single D20. And just tell me this. It doesn't have to be exact. At this point, you would be roughly around level 1 or 2. So what would your dexterity modifier be right now? Did you ever, whenever you got to level 4, did you do an ability score improvement?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I think I took a feature.
Okay, you took a feature. In that case, your dexterity score would be exactly the same. It would not change. So, roll me a D20.
It'd be 3.
Yeah. So roll me a D20 and add your dexterity. Well, you're doing
5.
That. Oh. Let me. With how dice rolls, there's a very well a chance that you won't get pulled. Oh, actually, yeah, no. So as Theobald begins to dash forward, trying to just get to the tent where Diane is, Gabriel takes a step forward, his huge arms just grabbing Theobold, easily beginning to lift him off the ground, gripping his arms tightly, almost feeling like he could just snap his arms with his bare hands, just holding him off the floor. And he goes, "Now where do you think you're going?"
Get the fuck off of me. And I'm just like trying to struggle out. Just...
As you do, he lets go, like he lets go of you for a moment as you begin to fall, but then he just grabs his hand up in the air again, grabbing you by the neck, and then he, with his free hand, grabs the hood of your cloak and throws it off, revealing your face for everyone to see. And he goes, "Ah, I know that face. The Mace of Blackenrock. You're one of their lackeys, aren't you? So you're here to stop this, and I assume that boy over there, that foolish lad, is with you, huh? Well, it's too late for that. God, send him in the prisoner's tent, and we'll deal with him later." And with that, he just lifts you up and then slams you into the dirt as hard as he can, knocking all the air out of you, as guards begin to surround you, all pointing daggers, swords, spears, all pointed at you, as several of the guards begin to grab you by the arms and wrangle you to the tent, to a different tent from which Diane is in, but they do pull you past the tent that you were making a run for. And as you pass the tent, you begin to feel your vision going dark, the lack of air, the heavy hit, making it hard to stay awake. But as your vision is going out, you manage to see in the tent for just a moment, in the crack left open by the guards. It's silent. There is no struggle. There is no scream. Diane is silent. She's not making a sound. Inside, the guards begin to walk out, and all you see is the hand of Diane in view, and a pool of blood beginning to fill the floor of the tent. And with that, your eyes shut, and you begin to black out, hearing Jaro screaming. Bear-Arms, you watch as Gabriel kicks the body of the child off the block, and then grabs another one and says, "There you go. That's what a good soldier does there, Bear-Arms. You followed orders just like the rest of us. Now, if I understand, your weak stomach can't take much more of this now, can it? Give me the damn axe. You hold them in place. I'll do the killing."
I shove the axe into his chest and go, "Fine." And I bring up the next one in line, and then pin him to the block.
The process would begin again, and the process would continue. He would execute them. The body would be moved. You would pull up another civilian. You would hold them down, and Gabriel would execute them. And this would happen until every single one of them were killed. Every single man, every single woman, every single child were executed. Their bodies lying lifeless on the floor. At this point, a storm begins to roll in. Rain pouring down as lightning crackles through the sky. Thunder booming throughout the entire kingdom. At this point, you can't tell what's rain in the mud and what's blood. It mixed in to the point where it's all the same. There is no water, there's no rain, there's no blood, it's all the same. All you can hear is the screaming. You hear the voices booing. You can only imagine what some of the villagers of Wolfpine, even maybe some villagers from Breeden, having watched this happen. You just hear them screaming your name, cursing you. You hear one man screaming among the crowd, "Curse you, Bear-Arms! Curse you and your bloodline! May you drown! May you burn in hell! May Anumbros take your soul!" Just constant curses being thrown at you. As the night begins to progress, Theobold, you are thrown into a makeshift prison cell. You're still unconscious, so we'll come back to you, but that is where you're at for the time being. Bear-Arms. Once every single prisoner had been executed, Gabriel slams the axe into the floor and watches as the crowd begins to disperse. And when it does, he looks at you and just smiles. He looks at you, places a hand on your shoulder, and says, I knew I could trust you. I knew I had a good heart trusting you to be my right hand. But he notices the look on your face, the upset, the anger, the sadness, the just hatred, the regret. He notices it. He sees it. And he shakes his head in just bewilderment and just looks at you and goes, "Ooh, wait, you're not thinking what I think you are you, Bear-Arms?"
They were women and children. Most of the men weren't even soldiers.
And how do you know that? Were you there?
Because we're the one who captured them. They're in caravans. They're in camps. They weren't fighting us. They got caught in the middle of this godforsaken war. Now,
to breathe heavy as you continue on, and then he suddenly grabs onto your chest piece and reaches down to your sword hilt, ripping the sword from your sheath. He points at you and goes, "If we're talking like that, you definitely sound like you're about to commit treason, Bear-Arms. Watch your fucking mouth."
I'm not going to commit treason. There's too much writing on this now. But this war has to end soon. Or me and you will either die or spend the rest of our lives in this war. We're the only two fucking Goliaths around here.
He just shakes his head and then plunges your sword into the mud, and you watch as the blood splatters from the floor, staining the blade. He just looks at it and goes, "Maybe I made a bad choice making you my right hand. A strong soldier would have done this, would have followed the orders by their king for the good of their kingdom, without question. I see you don't have that spirit, Bear-Arms. Or, at this point, you don't deserve that damn title, Colgrag."
I grab my sword from the mud. Kind of fling the mud at him, put it back in the sheath, and then walk away. Head back to my tent.
Gabriel turns and begins to look at the rest of the crowd and goes, "What the fuck are you all looking at? Leave!" And with that, they all quickly begin to scatter and leave the area. Going back to Theobold, you awake to the shaking of Jaro above you. He's shaking you awake. Just, Theobold, wake up now. Wake up.
Where am I?
You're
Lucas, man.
It's too late for them. It's too late. We can't help them. They're gone. We need to leave now, Theobold. We got to leave now.
How?
Look, I killed some of the guards. All right, I killed them. They're dead. Take their clothing, take their armor, put it on now. We don't have much time. We have to leave. Diane, Lucas, they're gone. Diane, she was... They fucking mutilated her. Stab wounds all over her, slicing all over her. They tortured her. They tortured the damn woman. And Lucas, that Goliath, he cut the damn head off of him. Not Gabriel, Bear-Arms. Bear-Arms did it. It was all him. He cut the head off.
I'll make them pay.
And we will, but we can't do that now, so come on. Get up and put the armor on. And as you say that, he begins to very, very quickly throw the guards' clothing at you, the armor throwing at you, and begins to put on a pair on himself as well. It doesn't take long for you to to completely finish donning the armor and the weapons. And as you leave the tent, you're greeted by the sight of this 60-odd number of people, headless, laying on the floor. And at this point, you see it's a storm. It's pouring rain. There's lightning crackling. The thunder booms even louder. And as you look at just where all the corpses are, you can't even tell if the mud was made from the rain or from the loss of life that had been created. Jar just looks at it and goes, "These monsters, they really do have no shred of humanity in them."
It's like you said, we'll make them pay later.
Right. Come on, we must leave now. We have to leave now. Not the way we came. And he quickly begins to run, not trying to cause suspicion. He's not running full speed, but just trying to run as if he's a guard being summoned somewhere, trying to just blend in as much as possible while still trying to hurry out the encampment that you're currently in. And as you both begin to make your way out of the camp, you pass by a tent with an open flap. And inside, you see the Goliath from the execution. You see Bear-Arms in his tent, standing there. You see the blood on his armor, the blood on his face. You see he is just standing there. The regret is on his face. You can tell he is not happy with what happened. You can tell he didn't enjoy it. His face was the exact opposite of Gabriel, where Gabriel smiled and laughed and showed joy with what he was doing. You see none of that on Bear-Arms. But even with that, with the massacre you just witnessed, it's almost hard to believe anything but what you want to believe. Do you do anything before you continue making your way out of the camp with Jaro?
No, I just keep going. Just mutter something on my breath, probably just like the bastard thinks he deserves to be felt sorry for.
So you both begin to continue on your way. You manage to make it out of the encampment with no issues. None of the guards question you, and even if they do, it's too late, as you and Jara both quickly make your way out of the camp and begin to head back to the headquarters for the Mesa Black and Rock to inform them of what just happened. And you can't help but think of how you're going to have to break this to Agus about what you just witnessed. Kolgrag, as you step foot into your tent, you just hear silence. You hear no voices, you hear no footfall. You just hear the rain pattering on the roof of your tent. It's just causing a ringing in your ears. All you can hear is the screaming of the villagers, the cursing of your name, the sound of the bucket, the sound the heads made when they would fall, the soft as the heads began to fill up the bucket, as they echo in your ears.
As I hear this, I'm gonna walk to the back of my tent, hand on my head, speaking to myself, stop. Stop. Be quiet. Be quiet! As I yell, I unsheath my sword and slash right through the back of my tent. And then drop it. As
you do, you see there was actually your tent was actually right next to the armory, and as you slash in, it broke through some of the tent and actually slashed through some of the weapons on the other side. You hear a loud clang as the blade shakes and wobbles, and as you drop your blade to the floor, you see the blade shatter, leaving nothing but a broken blade and the hilt left with the insignia of the Wolfpine military on it.
I walk to my personal effects chest at the end of my cot and take out an old, stained, beat up, battered piece of cloth. As I unfold it, it reveals the insignia of my clan. And I pick up the sword hilt and wrap it up and put it away.
As you do that,
Good.
you can't help but feel that some presence, some dark presence is looming over you. It feels like something's right behind you, but as you turn and look at it, there's nothing there. Just empty space. But you can almost swear you felt something behind you, something evil, something's hand grasping onto your shoulder, approving of what had happened. But you're alone. There's nothing in the tent with you.
As I'm in the tent, I patch up the hole I've put into the armor in my tent as best I can. And then I slowly remove my armor. Cleaning myself up with rags I've strewn about in my tent as normal to clean up myself after a long battle. And then when I feel like I'm as clean as I can be, still feeling dirtier than I've ever have, I sit in my cot, my head in my hands, and I just try to make the noises, the ruckus in my head go away to no avail.
As you sit there, just trying to do that, trying to find some peace of mind for the rest of the night, the world goes on. The rebellion goes on. The Mesa Blackenrock goes on. The days progress, the nights move on, the fighting continues, the bloodshed keeps going. And it is with that we will end the session. Whew. Alright.
You made me kill a kid, man.
Hey, he had to though, because if I just
I literally
seen you-
had to.
Because if I had just